As many of you know, I am interested in superheroes. I'm not well versed, but I like the idea of superheroes. So I find myself talking a lot about a few of them, and Superman more than anyone. There's something so compelling about the kind of power that he has. And again, I'm not a comic book guy. There's there's so much that I don't know about Superman, but I watch the shows, I watch the movies, and I think about him a lot. And part of my experience of watching Superman is this feeling of inspiration, this feeling of what's possible. But there's another aspect of watching Superman, which I experience this every single time, which is that I get angry at him. I get angry at Superman every single time I watch because he takes breaks. This man who presumably never gets tired, who never gets hungry, who can go anywhere, anytime, who can hear literally the cries of the world and go and respond, doesn't always respond. And so, even though I'm interested in him as a person, I'm interested in his humanity, I'm interested in him as Clark Kent, when I see him go to work and fumble around at the Daily Planet and stand around the water cooler with Jimmy Olsen, what I'm thinking is, people are dying. They're dying right now, and you could save them. Maybe there was an excuse decades ago that working at a newspaper helped him to know where the suffering was, maybe, but not today. Today we know. He can go. And so while he's standing on a ledge, flirting with Lois Lane, there is somewhere a bus going off a bridge. Always. There is a building collapsing. There is a house on fire. Always. And he doesn't go. And I feel this anxiety when I watch this man who could be saving more people not save them. And I wanted to bring this up tonight because I think that in a way, this is all of us. We all feel this tension and we see it in ourselves somehow. Last week, we talked about being burnt out. We can do things to address that, but it doesn't necessarily change this other question, which is, am I doing enough? If your focus is practice, am I practicing enough? Am I working enough? Am I taking care of the people I love enough? Am I a good enough partner? Am I a good enough parent? Am I a good enough friend? I could be doing more. And those are just the things in our immediate orbit. Now we know that there's much, much more than that. We see the suffering of the world and we see our relationship to the suffering of the world. And so on any given day, we can ask ourselves, am I recycling enough? Am I conserving enough? Am I speaking out enough? Am I paying attention enough? And we can ask this question in every one of those areas of our lives because we do know we could do more. In some cases, doing more in one thing might mean pulling back from another, but still there's more. There's no maximum. There's no end. There is always someone who needs us. There is always someone to whom we could bring more benefit. There is always another way we could engage. There is always another way we could participate. There is always another thing that we could give up, or another thing that we could give. Always. And so the first thing that I want to say tonight is I just want to acknowledge them. I want to acknowledge the burden of them. We don't talk in terms of superheroes. We talk in terms of bodhisattvas. We say the vows and we talk about all beings, all delusions, all dharma gates, as if we could ever keep up, as if it could ever be enough. And when we look at those vows, we trace that back to Shantideva. And I wanted to read just so that we can hear the language of this tradition, the pressure of this tradition, if we receive it that way. Shantideva is writing about the Bodhisattva, the path of the Bodhisattva. He says, "May I be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge for those who wish to cross the flood. May I be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles. And for the boundless multitudes of living beings, may I bring sustenance and awakening, enduring like the earth and sky, until all beings are freed from sorrow and all are awakened." It's really big. And then later, we get this last beautiful line. "For as long as space endures and for as long as living beings remain, until then may I too abide to dispel the misery of the world." So it's total. This is what we carry. If we have taken up this practice, if we've taken up these vows, it might sound like that in our head. It might have that kind of voice in our heads. And if we haven't taken this up, it's still something we feel. This awareness that we could do more, because there is more, and because it doesn't run out. And for me, there is no easy pivot here, where I say something like, "And so you have to be kind to yourself and give yourself a break." I can say that, it won't necessarily feel true. The pivot also isn't, "And so you need to never rest." Because we know that doesn't work. The reality, before we find a solution, because we won't, is that there is always more. If we measure our contribution in the world, moment by moment by moment, by most measures, we will see ourselves falling short. That's part of what it is to be human. It's part of what it is to notice the suffering. To pay some attention to all beings. To feel the delusion. Is simply to recognize that it's overwhelming. And that that's painful. And that we're all in this together. Superman may need to pause. He may need to rest for the sake of his sanity, for the sake of his humanity. He may need those moments in between. He may be perfectly clear about that in his mind. And when he's standing in the office talking to someone, he also understands that there's something he's not doing. He knows. Like I said, there is no easy solution. But I think, to go back to what I was saying at the beginning about enough, 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 is that the way we make our way on this path, the way that we take one step after another step after another step, is that we have to frame this. And by this, I mean not just our work, but our lives, in a way that cannot be measured. Because again, by any measure, it's too much. Could I be a better parent? Yes. A better partner? Yes. A better teacher? Yes. A better friend? Yes. So I have to take away, just to breathe, the idea that there is 100% and that my grade is here. I have to take away the idea that if I get it right one day, if all the pieces are just right and I get the timing right and the effort right and the energy right, the intention right, that I'll get a gold star. In order to step forward, I have to let go of it. Not embracing what I can't do, but agreeing to hold it. Without letting it weigh me down. This is a very long game. Whether we see this in terms of our lives, or again, if we see it in terms of the Bodhisattva path. For as long as space endures. For as long as space endures, I will make mistakes. For as long as space endures, I will fall short of my own hopes. But for as long as space endures, I will take one more step. I will stand up every day and I will walk forward every day. I find this hard. And though there are ways of talking about this, beautiful ways of talking about this path that are inspirational, that feel like music soaring, that get our hearts pumping. And sometimes we should do them. I think sometimes we also need to just admit it. That there are days when the music does not soar. There are days when every step feels like it may not be in the right direction. But even then, we just go. Because there's nothing else we can do. Nothing else I've found. Let's stop there.